Hi everybody and welcome to our webinar today. We are looking after 99th monkey. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. I pay my respects to the elders past and present and the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. I'm so excited today to welcome Nick and Sam from 99th Monkey. 99th Monkey have started in farmers markets and now they're all around Australia, in Coles supermarkets, in smaller delis, and looking to expand into other markets. So I'd love for you guys to take it away and give us a little bit of an overview of what 99th Monkey does.
Yeah, thanks very much for the intro, Emily. And thanks for joining us. Thanks, Racer. I'm just wondering if these other windows that are popping up with my name, Emily, are actually other people trying to join, because Racer at this point is showing as my name as well.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. I think we've had a couple of people maybe have logged in through your account, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's happening, but I guess we'll just let that go, and hopefully people can get in. Yeah, thanks very much for organising this, Emily, and thanks to everyone for joining us. Sam and I have put together a bit of a presentation that we'd like to take you through to tell you a bit about 99th Monkey, where we've come from, where we are now, and what our plans are for the future, and what we hope to achieve with this crowdfunding raise. We will rattle through this presentation pretty quickly because we're very conscious that we want to give everyone the chance to ask questions that they have and seek any explanation that you might look for. So just be conscious if I am going through it rather quickly that I'm trying to do so in order to give you time to pay attention to what your questions at the end. Any questions that you do have, just type them into the group chat, and that way we will be able to address them at the end. Sam has the presentation. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah, I can do. You want me to share my?
Thank you. Yeah, if you can.
My screen. Do this.
Yeah, if everybody wants to pop their questions in the Q&A chat box, that'll be the best way for us to answer your questions at the end of the presentation.
So Emily, it's saying that the screen sharing is disabled.
Let me just check. Okay, give it a go now.
Right, can everybody see that?
Perfect.
Thanks, Sam. I'm going to put that in full screen. Great. Alrighty, so here we are. Pop over to the... Yeah, so I guess underlying everything we do is our mission to give people a better way to eat. And we want to give people delicious food that's good for their health, but also really good for their planet. And that is one of the driving aims of this business. We know that plant-based diets can reduce emissions from food by up to 73%. And that gives us a lot of purpose in what we're doing, producing delicious plant-based food and being a catalyst for that change in people's eating habits. As I say, the 99th Monkey story is all about being a catalyst for positive change. The story of the 100th Monkey effect encapsulates that. You probably would have seen that in our video or read about that on our website. And as you'll see throughout this presentation, that's really at the core of our brand identity and what we're doing as a business. You know, we want to help people change their eating habits for the better, make positive food choices that are good for their health and good for the planet. and also influence our competitors to do the same. So we are trying to be a leader in this space with what we're doing. So we are one of the only climate positive businesses in the world, and that means we offset more carbon emissions than we produce annually. And I'm pretty sure we're the only climate positive food brand in Australia. I haven't come across another. So I'm going to claim that until someone else can prove me wrong. And if someone else does know of another, please let me know so I don't look silly. So far, we have offset 250 tonnes of greenhouse emissions. Now, I think the key in that is, number one, we want to ensure we're having a positive impact. But number two, we don't pretend to believe that we're going to change the world with our own, just by offsetting our own emissions. But what we want to do is be a leader in this and influence other actors in our industry to do the same, and give consumers that impetus to demand that of businesses all across the economy, but particularly in the food industry. And we just saw today that Mars have committed to net zero emissions. And as I said to Sam, I take full credit for that. So, hopefully we'll see more companies doing that over the next few years. And we can't make that change without the help of our awesome supporters, our customers, and the advocates for the brand. And we hope that through this crowdfund, we'll be growing that family considerably and having new monkeys as part of our team to help catalyse that change. So our mission: to become the world's leading clean energy company for humans, powering people's lives with food that is good for your taste buds, good for your health, and good for the planet. You'll hear me say that over and over and over again. Those are the three things that are really important to us. Delicious food that's good for you and good for the planet. And how are we going so far? Pretty well. We've developed and refined a much loved range of alternative nut butters. We've got 8 nut butters in the range at the moment. We're sold through about 1,500 stores Australia-wide, including 800 Coles nationwide. And we do have some export activity going on as well. We've connected with a huge community of like-minded monkeys with more than 16,000 followers across our social channels. And that's such a great source of information for us and support. So we view that as a two-way channel where we can communicate with our fans, but we can also learn from our fans about what's important to them and what they want us to do next, and we've grown our revenues in that time, and we're approaching 1.5 mil this year based on the first quarter. And our growth is accelerating significantly. So there you can see that in the quarter to June this year, we almost hit 120,000 units for the first time, and the past quarter was busier still. So that graph will keep going up, hopefully, and we're very excited about what the future brings, for our nut butter business alone, but also for what we plan to do next. So we've just secured extended ranging with Coles. So we've got 30% more distribution points with Coles, and that's just taken effect in the past 2 weeks. So we haven't seen the effect of that on sales yet. So we will see that in over the next few months. And we've got plans to improve our distribution through the independent channels here in Australia to unlock a lot more opportunity there. And we've got export partnerships in the Middle East. So we've just signed deals with distributors in Kuwait and Dubai. And we also do have a little bit of activity going in Southeast Asia as well. So we're really excited about the prospects for growth internationally. But yeah. And as you can see there, our fans love our products. For me, that's so important. Product comes first. People have to love the taste of the product for us to be successful. And then all the things that we hold dear in terms of our values around health and environmental sustainability, they all support that. But number one, we've got to have a great product, and check out our website. You'll see all those 5-star reviews to support the fact that, you know, the products themselves, they speak for themselves. So what is it that people love about our brand? Great taste, just a few natural ingredients. So that's it, quality first, product first, food that people can trust, that's going to be delicious and be good for them, plant-based and healthy, so people can eat it all the time and enjoy it and feel good about themselves while they're doing so, and a brand philosophy that resonates with people's values. So, you know, sustainability and having an ethical approach to how we treat our customers is very important to us, and something that makes our connection with our customers so much stronger. So the 99th monkey, as I said, the founding story of the 99th monkey brand is around the 100th monkey phenomenon, and this recognises that the 99th monkey is intelligent and curious and part of a subculture of early adopters and influencers. So we are the 99 monkeys, you and me and all our consumers. We're pioneering monkeys, and we're on a mission to change the way people eat for the better. We want to give people simpler, smarter and healthier and options that are kinder to our planet. And that's the change we're trying to make. And we think with enough of us doing that, we'll eventually find the 100th monkey, and that change will spread across the planet. So the next chapter of our story is new products for new categories. So we'll get onto that in the next slide. And that's what is the main objective of this capital raise, is to develop those new products and put those new products out into new categories, continue to build our distribution both here and overseas, and invest in engagement with our community. Up until now, we've done everything on a shoestring. We've been very resourceful. We'd like to be able to put some more resources behind that to really build our engagement with our community. As I said, that we view that as very much as a two-way exchange to build the strength of connection with our brand. The new categories that we have identified to target initially are ready-to-drink beverages. We believe there's a gap for a plant-based smoothie option in the mainstream retailers. We think that's more than just the fridges in Coles and Woolies. We think that this could also open up petrol and convenience for us. So that would be 7-Elevens, petrol stations, and places like that. So that we think there's some really exciting opportunities there. 4.4% growth last year in that segment. So a lot of opportunity for new options. In all of these categories, you'll see that the shift to plant-based is on already. And so that's where all the opportunities are really coming from. And that's where a lot of the growth is coming from in these categories. And so that's something that, you know, we're well positioned to take advantage of. We'll be taking what we do well, which is nut butter, and taking it and reformatting it for these categories. So we won't be reinventing our identity or what we do. We'll be taking what we do very well and taking it into these categories. Snacking's another key one for that. That's a $1.7 billion category overall at the moment, and slated to grow by 14% to 2024. And once again, all the growth there, or the main drivers for growth there, are healthy snacking options. So we have some really exciting concepts for how to enter that market, and we're really, really excited about what we can do there. Protein powders, once again, traditional whey-based protein powders seem to be on the way out, and people are turning more and more towards natural plant-based options. We think there's also a real gap in that market for a more gender-neutral brand. Seems to be a very macho kind of a segment right now. So, the 99th Monkey brand is hopefully more appealing, or fills a gap there. And we also think that this opens up the online channel for us a lot. So it's got a high value to weight ratio in protein powders, and it's also ships very well. So we think that'll be a really good way to extend our e-commerce activity through that segment. And we estimate that, you know, if we were to succeed in all three of these new categories, and as well as continuing our growth in the nut butter category, then this is the prize. And please note that that's the retail value of what we estimate could happen if we achieve everything we want to achieve in all of those categories. So revenue value would be about 50% of that. But you know, so that's still, you know, a potential for 10 times growth over the course of the next few years if we are able to capture all of that value there. And I'll throw over to Sam for the next part.
Thanks very much, Nick. In the next section, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the longer term story for 99th Monkey. So this is perhaps taking us a bit beyond the kind of the horizon for this funding round. And I'm going to try to convince you that there is a bright future for plant-based eating, and that 99th Monkey has an important role to play in that future. So we'll start with this, clean energy for clever humans, or just for humans, in fact. This is a statement that's clipped straight out of our mission statement. It's a bit of a nomic statement, but it kind of sums up how we think about the future when we try to look deep into the sort of long term. So when we think about the future of this business, we recognize that we're in an era of energy transition. Where human beings get their energy from is going to have to change. It is changing. It's going to have to change very rapidly over the coming decade or more. And this touches every aspect of our lives, not just you know, where we get our electricity from or how we power our cars, but also, very importantly, as we saw earlier, what we eat. So that idea of being in an era of profound change is really at the heart of how we think about long-term strategy. What does the research say about all of this? Well, broadly speaking, the researchers agree with us. They see the next decade and more as a period in which consumer patterns will change a lot, and in which companies that really can capture that migration, that can really tap into that move to plant-based eating, have the potential to be very successful. So there's a couple of pieces of content here. Both are taken from research reports. On the left is a quotation from a Mintel report, which I think is about 2 or 3 years old. I won't read it all, but it concludes by saying that successful companies through to the year 2030 will be those that improve the health of the planet and its population, which it sounds good to us, and I hope they're right, because that kind of development is something that we hope will be good for 99th Monkey too. And then on the right, we've just got essentially the same story told in numbers. So this is a projection from a research company called Meticulous, and they're forecasting effectively a doubling in plant-based food sales over the 7 years to 2027. So what are our fundamental strategic aims, and how do they position against this sort of backdrop of profound change? Well, we've got two basic strategic aims. The first is to position our business to optimally capture value from the transition to plant-based sources of protein. So what we mean by this is that we are working on the 99th Monkey business in order to position that business as best as we possibly can to benefit commercially from what we're seeing in the much wider marketplace. But we also want to go beyond that, because as Nick really emphasized, 99th Monkey is a brand that's all about impact. So we don't just want to ride the wave, we actually want to help shape the change as well. We want to build a business that contributes to accelerating these changes, which we see as being imperative to the future of the planet. And I think what's really exciting about this, and there's lots of other companies that are a bit like us raising money at the minute is actually there's a potential for small players like us to really shape the future. Actually, we can have a real disproportionate impact on the marketplace and on consumer behavior if we get it right. So, how are we defining what we see as our opportunity? Well, we've tried to kind of boil this down to a simple statement, which is we are looking at high value and healthy plant-based protein and good fats. There are three things I think we want to highlight to you in this presentation that are important. This is significant to be sort of taken out of that definition of a market opportunity. The first is that we are a business that in the long term is looking to transcend traditional categories, by which we mean we want to make lateral movements across categories. And Nick has outlined the sort of first steps, our first foray into alternative categories. I mean, this is something I think that if it works, is sort of almost infinitely extendable. And I think that our brand story really stands us in good stead for this as well. The 99th Monkey brand isn't founded as a nut butter brand. It's founded as a healthy eating, sustainable eating brand. And I think that story plays well across a very high number of categories. The second point is to say that we're looking for high cannibalistic market share growth. Now, by cannibalistic, and it's a slightly odd word to see in a pitch for a plant-based eating brand, but cannibalistic growth, we mean growth at the expense of something else. So probably there are two implications of that for us. First of all, the most obvious one is we want to grow our market share at the expense of non-plant-based market share. But there's also the second implication of that is we're looking at what we might call a small batch migration. So what we've seen very much in our own category, and we recognize it happening in lots of other categories as well, is that a lot of the high value discerning consumers are moving away from the big incumbent brands, and they're looking for brands that are a lot like 99th Monkey, that offer, you know, provenance, they offer ethics, they offer simple, sustainable products and an authentic brand story. And these are things that we can capitalize on as well. And then the third of the implications really relates to the fragmentation of the brand shares. So when we define our opportunity in the way that we are doing, we're dealing with a landscape in which the current sort of mix of brand shares is very fragmented. So what we've got when we look at plant-based eating as a whole, we've got lots of small brands like ourselves, many of whom are doing great things in individual categories, but nobody yet has really managed to take that story and to grow it across a range of categories. So when we're feeling particularly dreamy and quixotic, that's the pipe dream that we have for 99th Monkey, to turn it into that category defining brand. In this slide, I want to talk about what we're calling the plant-based premium. So this is effectively the opportunity that exists to create excellent opportunity that exists to create shareholder value in this segment. So I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, but we might come back to it, I suppose, in the questions. So what we have on the left are some valuation multiples for businesses and quoted businesses in our sector. So this is the ratio of EV, or enterprise value, which is effectively the underlying value of the business, to revenue. And the higher the ratio, the higher the valuation of the business in comparison to its sales. So what we notice when we look at this analysis is that the two companies at the top, Oatly and Beyond Meat, are really they're really anomalies in terms of their sort of market valuation. And these are two businesses, and you may well know them, but if you don't, you know, they're interesting businesses to look up. But these are two businesses that, very much like us, are attacking the same opportunity. They're looking to capture value from the transition of consumer eating habits. And the point we want you to take away from this really is that players that are able to effectively capture the migrations to plant-based eating are able to achieve rapid growth and secure significant valuation premiums. So if you get it really right, which is, I suppose, what these two companies have done, then the opportunities to create value for shareholders are very significant. So in this slide, I'll just sort of summarize, and I'll go through this quite quickly. So if you want to skim some of the bullet points while I'm talking, that might be helpful. But I want to just summarize what we see as the four sort of major components of our long-term strategy. And a lot of this will reiterate what Nick's already said. So our strategic aim is to position our brand to capture value from changing consumer habits. And these are the four things that we've been focusing on, and we will continue to focus on in order to do that. So the first point is to continue to develop our brand narrative, and that means to both to grow the recognition, to try to make a 99th Monkey a much more well-recognized brand, but also to develop the brand perspective as well. So Nick has sort of picked up on the way in which a lot of our followers, are sort of key consumers, really latch onto. They really sort of associate with the philosophy of the brand. I think that's a real important ingredient in our business, and that's something that we would look to develop. So in order to do this, we're going to have to engage the audience, and we've done this reasonably successfully so far with absolutely no resources. But one of the great things I think about this funding round is it enables us to develop our content output, to try to secure little and often touch points with our consumers, and try to get feedback and insight back from our consumers as well. This is really important. The third component of the strategy is around building the distribution and our retailer proposition. I think this sort of speaks for itself, really. It's fairly self-explanatory, and the core objective really is just to continue to try to grow and diversify our footprint. So we're a brand about impact, so we want to be able to get our products in front of the consumers where they're buying and where it's convenient from them to buy. And then the last component of the strategy relates to what we're calling prescient NPD. Now, NPD, if it's not a familiar term to you, means new product development. So when we talk about prescient NPD, we're looking to develop a capability to develop products in a way which seems as if we have foresight of what's happening in the market. So we want to be ahead of the trends. We want to have an NPD capability that takes exciting ideas and exciting concepts from the frontiers to the mainstream. And Nick's essentially already done that. He's taken his nut butter concept right the way from farmers markets to mainstream nationwide distribution. We want to identify the next nut butter concept and start to really turbocharge that journey. But we also recognizing that there's a price point pressure as well. So we're going to distribute products through retailers like Coles. We need to keep the price point sensible, and that means we have to work on our supply chain efficiency to really keep those unit costs down so we can operate at viable price points with robust margins. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about is our retailer proposition. This is perhaps not such an obvious aspect of the business, but it's a very important aspect for us. So in order to have impact, in order to grow our footprint, we need to persuade major retailers to stock our products. In order to do this, we have to treat them almost like our customer. We have to think very hard about how we appeal to these retailers and how we give them something that they don't already have that they really need. So within this slide, we've identified 3 themes that we've drawn out of various Coles sort of investor presentations. And these themes are 3 kind of key preoccupations of major retailers that we think we can leverage as a brand. So I'll just run through them. The first is that growth is driven by high value consumers. So in order to grow the revenues, these big retailers have to engage with high value discerning customers. And then moving on from this, and somewhat linked to that point, is the idea of segmentation. So increasingly we're seeing retailers like Coles are looking to segment their store formats. So they're looking to develop different store formats for different demographic groupings. Again, very much driven by a need to capture value from high value consumers. And the third point, and this you see more or less everywhere, is that not just in retail, but in all sorts of F&B brands, is that health and sustainability are 2 of the key sort of themes in the messaging. So these things come across in their messaging all the time. Now, how does this relate to our strategy for 99th Monkey? Well, frankly, we probably wouldn't be in Coles if these things weren't sort of preoccupations of the retailer. They've brought our brand in specifically to target that high-value, discerning consumer and help them fulfill these objectives. We recognise that, but we also recognise there's a trade-off. So when Coles engage with brands like us, they're effectively fragmenting their supply chain. They're dealing with a higher number of smaller suppliers, and this complicates their operation, and it potentially puts pressure on their margins as well. And we think if we can build a proposition which works across a wide range of categories, we can help to provide a more consolidated approach. We can give retailers like Coles a much more joined up proposition, and this will be a better and a kind of compelling trade-off for them, and will help us to grow our distribution footprint. So I think that's it from me. Nick, do you want to just round off for the last closing remarks?
Thanks, Sam. So a little bit more about what the offer and what we're hoping to achieve here. Go to the next slide. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so why should you invest in 99th Monkey? Be one of our monkeys, be part of our mission to change the way people eat for the better, join one of the world's only carbon positive or climate positive food brands. We've got powerful tailwinds from changing consumer consciousness and behaviour behind us and driving it, helping to drive our growth. Our growing distribution footprint provides an excellent platform for growth into new categories and with new products. And we have an engaging and authentic brand story. You know, this was something I developed out of, you know, what I truly wanted to achieve and the values that I hold dear. But now it's grown into something far bigger than that, and I think it's really well suited to take to the world. How will we use the proceeds? This is assuming maximum raise of 650K. We haven't quite finalised that number yet, but as you can see there, the vast majority of the money is going to be put into new product development, and the working capital there is to produce those products and also to market. You know, to give us the strength to go into these new categories with a really strong marketing approach and campaign behind us. So those are the main components of that. What happens next? The expression of interest closes 19th of October. If you've already expressed interest, thank you very much. If you haven't, I hope you will after this. Submitting your expression of interest gives you the first opportunity to invest with us before we make the offer public. And it also gives you the opportunity to engage more directly with us before the end of this round. So I've spoken to a number of you already, and you would have got my emails, and hopefully you know that I'm here to answer any of your questions. So please feel free to email me, contact me directly, and we will be sharing a final draft of our offer document with you before we open the investment offer to the public, to get your feedback and get your input into that. And you know, please tell your friends about 99th Monkey.
Thanks so much, Nick and Sam. That was awesome. And I know you've actually answered a few questions that are in the question box, but I'll just go through these and have a little bit of a look for you. I've got one from one of our listeners. So in terms of labelling, will you be changing the labels in future to make it more prominent that you are Australian made?
That's definitely something we can do. As you know from our labels at the moment, we've got our key call outs on there. That's based on customer feedback and the research we've done in the market on what people value the most. So but it's something we're always evaluating and looking at. So, you know, particularly as we, you know, turn towards more export oriented channels, then we definitely look to you know, amplify the Australian made aspect of the business.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. And are your nuts from Australian sources or do you import those?
Yeah, the vast majority. So, 80% of our volume is almonds, conventional almonds, which are all sourced from here in Australia. Our conventional peanut butter line is 100% Australian nuts, peanuts as well. With the other nuts, and particularly with organic nuts, it can be very difficult to source Australian due to supply constraints. Really, there's not a lot of organic producers particularly like with peanuts. There's one very small organic peanut farm in the whole country, so it's very hard to sustain a product line on the basis of that supply. But we always look to source Australian first.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. And are you hoping to manufacture your growth in-house, or are you going to outsource and maybe focus on advertising and supply chain only, or how do you see that going?
Yeah, for our new product development, all of that is being designed with the intention to contract manufacture. So we'd look to focus particularly on the promotion of those products and the marketing of the brand. We'll continue to manufacture our own nut butters in-house for now. And, we've got a capacity here to grow at least double our output, potentially triple in the medium term, and then we'd look at our options if we had to move facility or what we'd do beyond that with the nut butter manufacturing.
Absolutely fair enough. I've had a few questions about competitors. Given there's quite a lot of them in this space, how would you differentiate yourself from your competitors, and how do you believe that you will grow above what they're currently achieving?
Sure. Well, number one, I think our nut butters are the best on the market. They're delicious, made in small batches. We pay great attention to the quality of our nut butters. But it's also, it's about the quality, it's about the flavors that we offer, but it's also about the brand and what we do, what we give to consumers in terms of our values. So, as mentioned, we are the only climate positive brand, definitely in the nut butter segment. We've led the way on that, and we will continue to lead the way on that. And we, as we cross over into other segments, we believe we give our consumers more reason to follow us, as they know that they can trust a 99th Monkey product, whether it's a jar of nut butter or a snack food that they're picking up at the 7-Eleven, or a ready to drink beverage from a petrol station. I hope that people will know once they see our logo that they don't even need to look at the ingredients list. They just know that we're doing the right thing by them and the right thing by the planet.
Yeah, in terms of being carbon positive, how do you manage those obligations? And are things like food miles that, your jars are traveling or your nuts are traveling, are those kinds of things considered when you're thinking about your impact on the planet?
100%. So in order to calculate our carbon footprint, we work with sorry, I've lost the word, but he's a consultant, who his job is to calculate carbon footprints of large corporations and all sorts of businesses. So he is very experienced in that, and I work with him, give him details of all of our activities, all of our inputs, all of our energy use here. We even calculate the energy use of our staff coming to and from work. And he calculates all of that annually and gives me a total amount, and he always, on my instruction, rounds it up to make sure that we're definitely doing the right thing there. And then so that's to make sure that we're carbon neutral as a business. And the climate positive aspect comes in because at the end of each quarter, I calculate the total volume of nut butter that we've sold in that quarter, and I offset that again. So that's to make sure that we're doing much, we're giving back much more than we take out.
Yeah, amazing. And what are the current risks to the business, and how are you mitigating those?
current risks of the business. Competition is always a risk, and so we're working very hard to present the best products we can and at the best price point, and constantly innovating and with our products. Got to acknowledge having Coles as such a large customer and as our most significant customer is in itself, a great opportunity, but it's also a risk. So we believe that developing products for new categories is going to help us offset that risk by, even if we end up just in 3 categories in Coles, that's 3 separate buyers and 3 separate range reviews and 3 separate product lines that can perform on their own merits. But we think also that gives us a much better opportunity to get into other retailers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And who forms your management team? What's the background and experiences of those individuals?
Sure. So there's myself as the general manager of the business. My background's a bit unconventional. Background as a journalist, and I've kind of learned everything I know on the job here in the business. I started this business 8 years ago. And have learned a lot as I've gone. So I run, I'm pretty hands-on still here. We've got an operations manager who runs the day-to-day production operations, and I work closely with him, and also work on financial and strategy. And then I'll throw over to Sam for a bit of background from Sam about him and what he does with the business as well.
Yeah, I'm working with the business as an advisor, sort of general advisor really. I've been working for about 3 years. Started off in a fairly informal arrangement where I was getting paid in nut butter, but we've sort of made things a bit more serious as we've gone on. But my background is in finance, so I trained as an accountant in London. Did a lot of work in sort of professional services, advising mostly growing companies on things like raising money, IPOs, M&A, that sort of thing. Did a little bit of my own consulting work, advising growing businesses, so a bit of FMCG in there. And then I sort of by accident ended up as a CFO of a consumer business in the UK as well. So I've got a reasonably broad sort of sweep of experience, but the work I do is mostly just to help Nick as a sort of sounding board really, and also to provide some sort of professional and financial oversight over the business as well.
Brilliant. And are you guys currently cash flow positive? And if not, when do you intend to be?
I'll take this if you like. Yes, we're sort of at a break-even level now. So the existing business washes its own face, so to speak. In terms of what the future holds, it depends on how the fundraise goes. But all of the money that we're looking to raise is all going into growth. It's not looking to extend the runway of an existing business. So if we hit the top end of our fundraising range, then we may go into a sort of a cash flow negative position because we'll be investing more money in things like marketing, but that will be covered by the money that we raise, and the expectation will be that the growth that results from that will return us to a cash flow positive position in sort of 12 to 18 months after that.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. So what are your goals in expanding the management team and operations team so that you're more on the business instead of in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got we've achieved significant organic growth in the business over the past, this year anyway, and so we're able to resource the business much more. So we've had over the past 6 months, for example, we've been developing a whole suite of new products, and for the first time in the life of the business, that's not me developing those products, it's someone much smarter than me, which is a great relief, and having to, generating some really awesome results as well. So we look to grow the team. We will look to grow the team as the size of the business allows it, for sure, particularly in those areas of new product development, marketing, and financial management.
Yeah, brilliant. So I know that you are looking to spend a portion of the raise on marketing. What marketing styles will you be focusing on the most, and what platforms will you be using?
Social media is key for us, but we want to find ways to make that a lot stickier. We want to find ways to engage our consumers, as I said, in a two-way exchange. So we're looking at possibilities of developing a 99th Monkey app or a membership service that enables us to really engage those consumers. But all of that will kind of depend on the level of resources available to us and what we're able to do. We look to work with marketing agencies first for the high level strategic stuff and do execution in-house.
Great. And other than financial investment, are you looking for investors who might be, say, a little bit more hands-on, and maybe they might be on the advisory board, just to help you out in terms of sales, connections, networks, that kind of thing?
100%. That's been one of the great things about this process has been just seeing the breadth of experience and of people who have expressed interest in investing in the business, and been speaking to people who've got strong backgrounds in the food industry who would bring great expertise as advisors. I've been speaking with people who are practicing lawyers and all sorts of different people who are marketing experts. So we, as I said, we really want to grow the 99th Monkey family and anyone who believes in our mission and believes in what we're doing and has relevant expertise, we'd love to be hearing from them.
Awesome. And in terms of your projected outcome, do you envision yourselves ever listing on the ASX? Is there a timeline for that, or is that not something that's projected in your future at the moment?
Sam, I'll let you.
I think that would be a very hard thing to project from where we are.
Yeah.
Now, I think that would be, if we said we wanted to list on the ASX, I think that would be the sort of definition of hubris. Really, I think we haven't thought that far ahead. I mean, we've got some sort of general ideas about exit strategy, but we're too early in the story really to talk about that. But if we got to that position, yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be
Obviously.
absolutely brilliant. Well, that's all of the questions that we've answered, and there were some really great in-depth questions, the little curly ones in there as well. Is there anything else you guys would like to share with the group today?
Just like to say thanks so much. I can see that we've had about 15 people hop on and join the chat. So I'm really, really grateful to you for taking the time. And I just want you to know that, as I said, I mean it when I say, like, I'm here to answer your questions. So you can email me directly, nick@99thmonkey.com.au. A lot of you already have my phone number. I think if you're the people I think you are, popping up in the chat. So feel free to get in contact. We will make this presentation available for you, and this video will be also available after the chat. So, if you want to go back over it, or there are any points you want to go revisit, contact me directly.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I just reiterate that as well, hugely grateful for all of the engagement we've had with people, not just the people who are interested in investing, but lots of people as well have sort of got in touch to say how much they like the products and the brand and everything else. So it's been a really enjoyable campaign so far, and we look forward to carrying it on.
Yeah, even from the Birchal perspective, we've had some super positive comments come in from people who've been following the campaign and also following the brand for such a long time. So you should be really proud. It's a great brand that's grown with a lot of great ambassadors as well.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Emily, and thanks everyone for coming along.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and get in touch with Nick and Sam if you have any more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.